A TVI and a mother of a toddler with visual impairments sit in the living room discussing functional outcomes based on priorities identified in an RBA.
If our priorities after this are still walking the feeding, using his vision as much as he can, sleeping through the night eventually, well, you've almost already got a lot of the walking stuff in the daily routine, or you could...
I would like them to use a little push walker.
Oh, his little...
Because he does not, his bike turns into, the seat opens up and it's a little walker.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't care to hold on to it. He
Oh, really?
doesn't like to touch it.
Oh, really?
So...
That's interesting.
And at PT, she has a little cart that he uses. He doesn't care to touch that either, so... I would like him to walk. She said he just might skip that, though.
Uh-huh. So he's really not liking the feel of the handles for those
Right.
push things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing that...
And he doesn't like to...
The mother holds her arms out, fists closed as if standing in front of Alston and holding his hands.
Hold on to your hands if you're in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not big on that for a long time. He might take a couple steps with you walking and kind of pulling him, but then he doesn't want you to touch his hands, so he'll drop his hands. And then he wants to stand by himself.
Uh-huh. All right, well, if we think about that, that's kind of interesting, that whole walking thing. Because last week when we were here, one of the things that I mentioned, we really do need to get him to manipulating lots of stuff and holding on to all kind of things, particularly because we were talking last week a little bit about literacy, and I said, based on my experience with working with children who maybe that were showing the same amount of vision that he's using right now, I just think it'd be great to look at this from a Braille and print perspective. Not,
Right.
so that he's using everything as efficiently as he can. And so his hands are going to be really, really critical.
Right.
And so that's, and he wasn't, he'll push and get active actions from his toys. But I didn't see a lot of systematic, tactile exploration. So this is why I was mentioning that the therapy ball, and I see it right over there in the corner. Anytime in the PT that we saw last week, when she was really getting him to do all that weight bearing on his hands, that is really going to help all of those things. So if I were you, when we're thinking about the daily routines and moving everything along, I would work that therapy ball into the morning and the afternoon play routines if I were you. And I would really get him going down and bouncing on his hands
Yeah, we
as
usually
much
do
as
it
possible.
once in the evening.
Great. I'd do it, if we really want him to hold on to that thing, I'd do it 2 or 3 times a day and really get him to take more and more pressure. And then...
He does really well with scooting himself.
The mother uses her hands, palms down and fingers spread, moving her arms backwards.
Putting pressure on his hands, and he's just been doing well with this past week or two. If he's laying on our mattress or something on our bed, or on our futon, or on a chair that he has. Anyway, he'll scoot. It doesn't matter where you put him on there, he'll scoot himself off. So he's lifting himself, scooting
That's
himself.
good. Because
And he does that.
Great.
I purposely have him do that all the
Great.
time. I purposely put him on his stomach to do that.
Yeah.
And he does that at least 3 times a day.
That's great. That's
but
wonderful.
he doesn't seem to have a problem with it. It's only certain textures, and that over there has ridges in it.
The mother points to a toy across the room that is not seen.
And I think that makes a difference.
Oh, you mean he thinks that's better? He likes that better?
No, he doesn't care for
He
that.
doesn't like the ridges. Well, I think
I think it depends on just what the texture is.
Yeah. But if you can just keep wearing him down and exposing him to a lot of things,
Right.
and when he does, and, so again, I like the little tray thing because you can put things there that you really want him to touch,
Right.
and then give him lots of positive reinforcement when he does manipulate it, and just keep trying, because I have seen it back when I was doing lots of work with lots of children who were visually impaired, that you just will wear them down. You don't want to be intrusive. You don't want to do anything that really makes them unhappy.
The TVI uses her hands palms down in a pushing motion, demonstrating how Austin can get deep pressure to his hands.
But if you're real persistent and he's getting that deep pressure to his hands, then I think that it'll wear away, and then he'll be more open to touching everything. So I think that's great, and the way that you have this room set up so that he can cruise to play with his toys, that's wonderful. I mean, that really is. But then you said, the other thing is he's so attached to you and so tuned into you, because it was so clear when we were looking at the videotape from last week, when he moved over to you, he moved really fast from me to you last week. Yeah, he was rolling, but he was getting there. And so I do think, since he is cruising along here, if you can get on the floor and put him, just sit out with your legs in front of you and put him in front of you.
The TVI extends her legs out directly in front of her with her arms out.
And just get him to walk to you and then give him that really big hug or some of the rough housing that he does. I would turn that into some little games with because you said he loves rough housing with his daddy. So I would, and that is this getting babies who don't see very well to take those first steps is one of the most challenging things I have ever encountered. So, yes. So that I think, as attached as he is, this is what I would start with.
The TVI demonstrates the position with her legs extended out in front, motioning for the child to walk toward her.
I would start with putting him there and enticing him to walk independently to you. And then what you and can do is get foot to foot on the floor and let him go back and forth from one to the other.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think you could incorporate that into your play routines, and that would be a lovely thing to do. And a few steps without any support, isn't he, or is he not there?
He's standing plenty by himself, but he has not taken steps by himself. Now, you're right, he would do better with the hips.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you may need to do some of that too. But those things would be really great. And then when we come in a couple of weeks, I'll bring a few other things. Yeah, it's really amazing. But the other thing with the texture, and you're wanting him to walk with support, is almost, and if he doesn't like holding your hand, it's almost like maybe you need to get a little dowel. Will he take any textures? I mean, some kind of texture that wouldn't be aversive. A plastic, like a PVC pipe, if he doesn't like, or a part of a broom.
Something smooth.
Yeah.
The TVI pretends to hold an object in her hands and moves her arms backward, imitating the movement Austin could make walking with assistance from his mother.
So that you'd have him up, he would be up, and he'd be holding on to that, and you'd be holding on to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Good idea. Just by itself?
Yeah, so that what you're saying, he doesn't want to hold your hand. And that, you better ask your PTs. They may not like that idea at all. But it just seems like if he doesn't like to hold your hands, because what you're trying to do is to get him to move a little bit.
Right.
But I wouldn't do that without asking the PT. But in the past, it was like just having some little support and being secure enough. And the children, because I don't know posturally if he's ready to take those independent steps, but the therapist would. But I have known children who would cruise all over the place. And you know that they were ready posturally. But it's just taking those few steps when you can't see very well. So those children would really do good with maybe even that little plastic ruler, just knowing there's something that's attaching them to another person.
Right.
Even like those spirally telephone cord things. I have had children who would walk holding onto the end of one of those things, but they would not
walk by themselves.
Yeah, so it's like give them some support and fade, but don't do anything without your physical therapist.
Okay.
Help.
And with the push toys, sometimes it appears like it's that texture. But you know how like when you go to slip and you get that tickle in the bottom of your feet? You know, like when something's slippery, you
Yes, I've had that.
Oh, yeah.
So when they go to push those little push toys, they're really light, and it's kind of, they don't like holding it because it's so light, and it gets...
Yeah, they feel like they're going to be out of control.
So if I've had, like the cart that Denise was using, if we weight it down...
With a bunch of canned
And then
food.
sometimes they'll grasp right on, that it's more
Stable.
more stable.
Yes,
They feel
that's a
more
good
secure.
point.
So I've used a 5-pound bag of sugar, anything to just kind of give it some more
Weight.
behind it, so that when he grabs on, it's not that tickle in your feet.
Yeah.
You know, this is
Right,
too-
and I could set something in the basket in that thing.
Yeah, that might help. But the other thing
Okay.
is, though, sometimes I know some orientation and mobility specialists really think it's better that they not use a lot of those push toys until he's really, really stable. He's got good posture, good control. Let him master walking and be able to walk really well. Then give him the push cart. But I think different people have different philosophies about that. So, but anyway, I am eager for him to get as much experience, many experiences with deep pressure to the hands, which you're already doing, and then lots of different exposure to different textures and play. And my goodness, you've got a whole toy shop here.
Right.
As far as textures and
Right.
and
I mean,
appealing
we
toys.
have things that he can get.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So let's see. Those were a lot of things that could be done already within the daily routine. The feeding, I think, if you can find really motivating things that he likes.
And I need to give him more of a chance. I have not
Yes,
given
and
him
your
very much
summer
of a chance.
this is the prime time to
Right.
do it.
Exactly.
Even with is he interested in the spoon at all? We've got some, where are they?
The TVI reaches down and begins to look for something in a bag sitting at her feet. She pulls out a small package and shows it to the mother while she attempts to open it.
We did come prepared with for a few things. The other thing is he does need to become, see what is still in the package. Just look what we happen to have with us today.
Okay. And the OT said to just give him a spoon to
Play with, absolutely. So he
Right.
learns what a
Now,
spoon is all
he
about.
brushes his own teeth.
Oh, that's neat.
Recently, because he wouldn't let me brush them. So I've now started at night to give him his toothbrush,
Great.
and he kind of just chews on it, or
Yeah, but at least he's getting it to his mouth.
Right. And he doesn't mind that. So I think he'd be okay with the spoon.
The TVI holds the package toward the camera. Inside the package are two brightly colored children's spoons. One is bright green with yellow spots. The other is bright purple with red spots.
Well, and these particular spoons are neat, which I think we're just going to leave them with you. Because, see, this is another great thing, that putting it on his tray at different, be very quiet. And it'd be really interesting to put one of them on the right side and one on the left side and see, does he attend to them at all without any sound cues.
Okay.
And then, give him some cues, and if that's what it takes to see where he's, what he's seeing.
Maybe I'll put him on there before I put him in.
Yeah.
And kind of with my
Yeah.
thumbs so they don't make noise.
So this really would be, when you've got that deck right out there, even if he is really interested in the food and he's interested in the spoon, it'll be interesting when you ask Sue about the feeding and what you can do to move him along.
Right.
When she's not, because she won't see him for 2 months. Is
1
that right?
month.
1 month. So what can you do to speed the self-feeding in
Right,
that
well,
1
she
month
just gave
period?
me yesterday a huge packet of different goals that she wanted me to work on and different
Yeah.
ways to do it. So
Great.
I haven't actually looked at it yet, but
Well, good. Maybe
I
there's
know
a
that
sequence
that's
in there.
because she had given me different finger foods that might be helpful to use.
Okay, great. Well, that would be, but then even he could, if he shows interest in the spoon and he's already taken his toothbrush to his mouth, even if it's messy, you can get a tarp or an old shower curtain or something. You've got a great place for teaching him to self-feed this summer out on that deck.
That's not a bad idea.
Because you can just hose
Or
it
usually,
down.
right, or I just I usually lay a towel underneath
Yeah.
there.
Well, you could do that, but I mean, you could really move in the feeding himself those messy baby foods, because it is a big mess.
It is a big one.
Does he? What about eggs? Does he eat scrambled eggs at all?
Not really. He
Yeah.
has, but I really don't give him those.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be seeing what he does with the spoons, and those are so bright. See if he sees
Right,
them.
yeah,
Then
that's
you're
a good idea.
you're checking that out. But does he like? What about Cheerios? Does he like
He
anything?
loves Cheerios.
And will it? So that's
we work
great
on that, but they're very small, so they're hard to
for him to
He'll
see.
pick them up.
The mother uses her hands, fingers splayed in a grasping motion, imitating how Austin picks up Cheerios. She keeps her hand high in the air to show how he drops the Cheerios back onto the tray.
Now that's one thing he'll touch, which is nice. He'll pick them up and kind of drop them. Now I think that now we've been working on. We've kind of switched to crackers, but I used to always lay Cheerios on his tray.
The mother fists her hand and points to its interior side by the thumb and moves it toward her mouth.
But now I've been laying his chicken nuggets or whatever on his tray, and I at least get it here in his hand to bring up to his mouth.
I think it'll be wonderful to see if he can see his food on his tray, and we should bring some of those multicolored mat things.
The TVI reaches into her bag and pulls out several small children's plates in primary colors. She holds the blue plate in front of her.
Yeah, we've got these. So that's true. The Cheerios would show up much better on the tray, and they wouldn't go all over.
Well, he would pick that up and throw it.
Oh, that's what he'll do.
For sure. I've put dishes on it. I can't put dishes on this thing.
No, I was thinking about those
mat.
plastic dice.
It's different,
That's
right.
exactly what I was thinking about. And we have some with different colors, but I think
Because anything on his tray, he'll...
The mother imitates Austin, picking up an object and throwing it to his side.
Yeah. Because
play with
see,
it for a while
the
and think of it.
Cheerios are so similar to that color. I'm afraid he might not be able to see
Right.
the Cheerios to pick them up. But what a great thing for us to see. Can he, if he's really motivated for Cheerios, and you put them on there, to see if you can get him to look at them. And
Well,
then,
he can get the crackers on there. The crackers are about the same color.
about the same color. And he does see those and reach for them. See, that's very helpful.
I don't know if he sees them or reaches for them. I know he finds them.
Start watching. See,
Right.
is he using his hands or is he using his vision? And I'm really interested in knowing what he's doing to find him over there on the right side. I think those would be some neat things that you
Right.
could do easily, and it'd be fun. You know, it'd be
Right.
really fun.
And just every day.
Yeah.
thing.
And so the feeding's a great time for him to be independent, but also for you to figure out how much of his vision he's using. What about a cup? Have you done anything with a cup?
We have tried sippy cups. I don't try it all the time. And he knows to put it to his mouth.
Oh, he does?
I did get the one, because I had gotten the spill-proof ones
Yeah.
first. And he didn't know to suck on it to get it out.
Uh-huh.
So then I had gotten him the non-spill-proof, and I put water in it, because
Yeah.
I mean, he'll drink it and throw it. I mean, he
Uh-huh.
just throws it.
Yeah.
So he's in the throwing stage, so it's kind of hard. But he knows to put it to his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I know I need to start. I talked to Sue about that yesterday. She wants me to start using a sippy cup.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think
For
that
things that he doesn't need to have, like, his juice or
yes,
water. But his milk is
absolutely.
in the bottle.
And that'd be a great part of that little routine where maybe when you have him outside, because it really is going to be important that that's tough, that wanting to throw it when they're done. That's another thing.
I know. I try
That can
and tell him
be,
to set it down.
yeah, so that you've got to be there. I mean, I've got video clips from 19, when was I in that classroom? 85, 86, 87, where I was doing exactly, and there I am try to model him putting it down with your hands on his, saying, okay, you've had a drink, now let's put it down. Because he needs to know that those things aren't disappearing, that he throws are not disappearing into the thin air. So the sooner that we can help him to understand that, the better off it's going to be. Because they can get into just flinging stuff,
Right.
and it's just gone. That's the end of it. So I think the sippy cup's great. And what would really be nice, I think, is if you had a couple of different colors. I'm interested in seeing if he'll look from one thing or another and choose between two things. Have you given him has he had that option before for you to maybe at meal times? It might be really good if he really likes his chicken nuggets and he likes his cracker.
To see which one he wants.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Choice making would be a wonderfully fun thing to see. And then see if he can get this idea of choosing something that he really likes when he's really motivated, like hungry. Then later on, we can use that to see which colors he prefers. And then that might help us, you know, to enhance the environment so that he'd be able to use his vision even more. So, I think the choice making.
Yeah, I haven't noticed I mean, I know he likes red, but
yeah, that was pretty obvious.
I haven't noticed necessarily a color preference besides red.
Uh-huh.
But we have very bold colors for our things, just from the we figured it could, you know, would probably help him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
I mean, I don't think we have any pastel-y type things at all.
Okay, so we've talked about what to do to enhance the walking during the day. And since he is just such a pleasant, easygoing child, I think all this feeding thing would be really fun too. To see how far you can get him with the spoon and with the self-feeding in the next 2 months, because he seems to be taking off. And I really wish we could make some progress with that sippy cup. That'd be a really neat thing too.
The TVI pretends to hold two objects and moves her head side to side, demonstrating how the mother could observe Austin using his vision to make choices.
And then the choice making in the context of his meal time. That'll help with a lot of things. Or even when you're offering him two toys. Mm-hmm. See if he can visually see what you're offering and which one he'd choose. Because that'd be a really neat way to try to get him to use his vision as effectively as possible. And then if he gets what he really wants, that's so reinforcing.
Right.
So, those are some things that just kind of, we've gone into the intervention planning right from the routines-based assessment into this. I know this isn't a concern, but, or it's something that you think that's under control, but I would really suspect if you decrease those naps during the day, I think you'd see a real difference in the nighttime thing.
Yeah.
When you're ready to tackle that.
Right.
So you just have to decide when you're ready to do it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to avoid him taking an afternoon nap later. Yeah. After 5, because sometimes he just either didn't nap in the morning or something. But if he takes a nap at 5 or later, even if it's just for a half hour, I mean, he's up until 2. It's just enough to keep him going.
Yeah. So you are conscious about.
So I try not to take it.
Yeah.
But it's hard when he's just so tired.
I know. It's like I know.
I know. And then by that time, I want to nap. So I'm like, all right, go to sleep.
Okay.
Please go to sleep.
Well, do you have any? What did you think about this process? Do you have any? Do you think it hit?
Questions? I think it was fine. It's a few things I need to work on that, I've known I need to work on, and while I'm home. And have the summer to do it.
Yeah, but so much of it, you've already got such a nice schedule and routine with him.
We're lucky with me being able to be home and